Right,
Great.
so I guess we can just go ahead and begin. And if other people start trickling in, then they can trickle in. So I wanted to just start off by introducing myself. My name is Stephanie, and I'm one of the marketing interns here at Sizigi. I'd like to thank everyone for their time, for attending today's event, and especially to our recruiter, Marissa, for taking time out of her day to be here. So if you'd like to start off, you could introduce a little bit about yourself, your background, and your current role.
Yeah, of course. So, um, like I was just telling Tony, I am a proud Aztec, went to San Diego State. I'm actually originally from San Francisco. And so I chose SDSU because it was the farthest away that I could go to college without leaving California. But I'm so glad that I attended SDSU, was involved with a lot of different things on campus, had different internships, and held a part-time job. All throughout college, I worked at KPBS on campus as a student assistant. And so when I graduated San Diego State, I took a job with Gala Wine and Spirits, and I moved to Santa Barbara and got to sell wine and spirits to different retailers. I was on the distribution side, so what that means is I was selling product in grocery stores. So your local Vons, your local CVS. I was in there every day talking to different decision makers and was able to just help build Gala's brand in the stores. So some of the few notable wine brands that everyone may know is Barefoot Wines, Gala Wines, of course, and then also spirits. So we also sold New Amsterdam. I'm going to fast forward a year after that position. I moved back to San Diego because who doesn't like San Diego? Am I right, everyone? So I moved back to San Diego and was able to get a job in staffing. And staffing was a lot of fun. I was able to do sales as well as recruiting. And so I was recruiting candidates that were interested in marketing positions, sales positions, admin and clerical roles. And that was probably my very, very favorite part about my job, was being able to connect with people and ultimately help them get employment and be able to provide for their families and have a job. So with that being said, I'm actually new in my role here at Northwestern Mutual. I've been with the company for about 2 months now, and I came to Northwestern for a couple of reasons. One being, the financial services industry is a great industry to be in. For one, I didn't know too much about it before coming to Northwestern, but I've learned so much. And so, being an essential business, I was really excited to learn more about financial services, specifically because I didn't know too much about it, about my personal finances, and I wanted to learn how to create, a personalized plan and be able to set myself up for success down the road. But more so than that, I joined Northwestern Mutual because of all the different growth opportunities that they provide to their employees. And so I thought that the mission, vision, and values of Northwestern also aligned with my own. So that brings me to present day, and now in my current role as a campus recruiter, I get to share what Northwestern does and share our company to our students. I recruit not just at San Diego State, but I'm recruiting for an internship at USD, UCSD, Point Loma, and San Marcos. And I love that I get to talk to students day in and day out and get to share, interview them and take them through that process to ultimately join our college program. We have a top 15 internship program here at Northwestern. So, Stephanie, I'm sorry that was super long-winded.
No, it's okay. It's all good.
That's a little bit of just about me and, my journey of how I got to where I am today.
Mm-hmm. So I remember in your introduction just now, you just mentioned how you were involved a little bit on campus here at SDSU. So I was wondering what aspects of your college experience do you think helped benefited you in the path that you're on today?
Yes, so I got involved on campus starting my freshman year. So I joined Associated Students to be, to name just a couple of organizations that I was a part of. I was in a sorority, I was in Delta Gamma, and all the different organizations that I ended up joining throughout my years at SDSU, I think really shaped and set me up for success post-graduation. I just think just holding different leadership opportunities, more so than just having teamwork in a classroom setting. I was able to work with a team, lead a team, and then meet just different people across campus. I was personally a communication major with a marketing minor. And so I was like kind of teetering like, well, what do I want to do after graduation? I feel like communication is just very broad where I can go in different industries, I can go in different positions. And so I was really excited just to join different organizations and meet new people and get their insight of, okay, like what can I do? What can I do here? What can I do there? And so working at KPBS, I thought that I was going to go into broadcasting, and I thought I was going to be a news anchor and be on TV. And I quickly learned, maybe that's not the path for me. But I loved my position there, and I loved all the people that I met. So just different organizations, those different jobs that I did, just helped me learn what I liked and what I didn't like. So I think that's key when it comes to current students, join different orgs, do different internships and jobs so that at the end of your 4 years at SDSU, you have a good idea of what exactly I like and what exactly I don't like when it comes to a career path.
Yes, this makes a really good point. I think it's really especially important because even now a lot of students go into a major, but in the end they actually end up getting a different job in another major. So I think that does really make a really good point here.
Yeah.
I think since job season is in full swing here, I think it's really important to address if you had any tips or things to be on the lookout and aware of when applying for companies, or just any tips in general about the whole recruiting application job process.
Yeah, of course. Well, I think, we are in such a different climate being with COVID-19, and everything is now digital. And so a few tips that I have for current students going through the interview process, whether that be for an internship or if you're a graduating senior and you're looking for a job after graduation, I think the first thing that really is going to set you apart from other candidates is taking a look at your current resume. So taking a look at it and seeing, okay, is all my experience on there? Show it to a friend or a family member or someone that you trust and ask for their feedback. I always like to say, when it comes to a resume, that's going to be the first impression that a recruiter like myself sees in a candidate or a student. So I always recommend maybe a one-page resume if you can fit everything in there. And if not, you're like, hey, Marissa, I have so much experience. I've been working since I was younger. I can't fit it all on one page. It is okay. You don't want everything so small font on a one-page resume and, can't fit it all. So in that event, I would recommend 2 pages, but I would say, it takes 4 seconds for a recruiter to determine if I want to look at the rest of the candidate's resume, just in those 4 seconds. So that first impression, I think, is really crucial. And by sending a personal message to a campus recruiter, in addition to applying to an internship alone, I think helps you stand out because, one, that shows that you are excited about the opportunity and really making an effort to get your resume in front of the recruiter. I think a quick LinkedIn message, a quick email would help you stand out, and I always recommend either PDF or sending your resume as a Word and a PDF. So that's just a quick note in terms of a resume and how to stand out when it comes to the application process. Even if you don't end up sending a message to the recruiter, a quick connect on LinkedIn really goes a long way. So I definitely recommend connecting with anyone that anyone that in that organization that you're interested in applying to. In addition to just your resume, if you are ready to go with your resume and your LinkedIn profile and you get to the interview process, I think being in a virtual world, of course, everything is going to be on Zoom. like we're on right now. So making sure that you are dressed professional, and that your background is clear, and there's no other noise around you when it comes to the interview process. In the interview, I think is really going to stand out to the recruiter, because personally, I'm thinking the candidate put in so much time and effort to make sure that everything looks great, you're well prepared. That stands out to me as a recruiter. I think other recruiters can agree. So when you're in the interview process, making sure that you're looking professional and prepared and ready to go. And I would say at the end, after an interview, I would always, always, always recommend sending just a quick note to the interviewer, whether that be a handwritten letter. Sometimes that might be a little outdated, and some people giggle when I say to do a handwritten letter, but even if it's a quick email thanking them for their time, the recruiter's time, after an interview, I think goes a really long way and helps those students stand out to me when I'm going through the interview process, talking to a bunch of different students. So I would say in that process, those are some tips and advice. Outside of that, I think just in general is just, again, having your resume ready to go, having your LinkedIn profile ready to go as well, and making sure that you have that looking professional. And thanks, Alyssa. Yes, I actually learned, I wanted to comment on that if that's okay, because sending a handwritten letter seems a little outdated, but when I was in staffing in my old position, a couple of candidates did that, and that always stuck with me. What I always recommend to my candidates, or how I recommended my candidates when I was in staffing, was, okay, go in for the in-person interview. This is during, of course, pre-COVID, but during the interview, go in with a letter, like a blank envelope and a blank letter. And when you leave, you can go back to your car and quickly just write that letter. Dear so-and-so, everything's fresh in your mind from that interview. I always like to say, if there's anything in particular that you gathered from that interview, if you had something in common, and you guys chatted about that in the beginning or the end, I would make sure to include that. Thank you so much for your time. I loved learning about, your experience, and so happy that we had, we're from the same hometown, and whatever you guys talked about in that interview. Looking forward to hearing the next steps from Marissa. Then you go back to the office, to the front desk, and drop that letter off. People did that for me, and I recommend that to candidates moving forward. It truly, truly does make a difference. So I know now that we're in a virtual world, we may not have that luxury of going into an office, for an interview, but that having an email sent is just as great. So I hope that's helpful, and just some things that I've learned throughout the years and being a recruiter. Those are kind of the things that stand out to me. Is always, constant follow-up and thank yous as well, just really help students and candidates as a whole stand out. Did I miss anything, Stephanie? You can ask
No,
me anything.
I think that was great. I personally have never thought about sending a handwritten letter. I only thought about it for like the college application process, but I think for recruiting, I think that's especially really important, because like it can really go a long way, because you can see like the attention to detail and whatnot.
Exactly.
And yeah, going along with the resume process, Sizigi, our company here, actually works to innovate and change the resume process. So we help digitize and create an e-portfolio. So if anyone's interested, I really think it's a good way to help have your resume stand out to recruiters, because you're able to add like personalized information and whatnot.
Yeah. I fully agree. I absolutely love that. And that's something that as a recruiter, if I received an e-portfolio of, your resume and then some of your work afterwards, I'm blown away. So I think that's a great resource. So thank you, Stephanie, for mentioning that.
And I remember that you just mentioned about how post-COVID, we message recruiters now on LinkedIn, but I was wondering if there's any other tips or other ways to get connected to recruiters or other individuals in the company or whatnot.
Yeah, so for recruiters specifically, I know that San Diego State uses Handshake. So I wanted to bring that up because that's another great platform in addition to LinkedIn for students to get connected with recruiters. When I attended San Diego State, we actually had Aztec Career Connection. So learning about Handshake is a little bit new for me, but being on the other side and getting to talk to students, you know, I'm constantly on that platform as well. And that platform allows students and recruiters to message and email as well, in addition to LinkedIn. So I would say to not forget about Handshake, because that is another platform that you can connect it with recruiters specifically. I would say, you know, in addition to just talking to people in general about other people in the company, I think a really great way, and this is going to be on LinkedIn as well, but I think a great way that you can get connected with other people working at a company that you're interested in, you can send them a personalized message and say, hi, so-and-so, you know, my name is Marissa. I am currently a senior at San Diego State. I noticed that you're currently working at XYZ. I'd love to learn more about, you know, your path of how you got there, and you know, maybe if you have a couple minutes, I love to hop on the phone just to quickly chat, and I can learn more from you in your current role and how you got to where you are today. Something as easy as that, especially if it's an alumni of the school, if it's an, you know, if it's SDSU alum, you can say, go Aztecs, you know, I noticed you're an alum specifically, I'd love to connect. Any student that reaches out to me, or candidates that reach out to me that are current SDSU students, of course, they're going to hold a special place in my heart. So I am more than happy to always connect with everyone, but specifically SDSU. Don't tell my other schools that. But when I get a personalized message specifically saying that, for me, I can tell that the candidate took one time to look at my profile and recognize that I currently go, or you know, currently went to SDSU, and took that time to really just connect with me. That stands out, and I think that goes for every other person in an organization. You know, even if you're not an alum, just that outreach shows that you care and you are serious about a position at their company. So I think that would be a great option, in addition to just outreach on LinkedIn and on Handshake.
Mhm. Yeah, that sounds good. I'd like to open up the floor to anyone if anyone had any specific questions, or if anyone wanted to hear anything further from Marissa. You could always just personalize message her too if you're too scared to speak up and whatnot.
Yeah, I'll put my contact information in the chat as well in case anyone has specific questions. Typically when I talk to a group of students about, you know, if it's resume building or rocking a virtual interview or whatever it specifically is, I always offer myself as a resource. So if you would like me to look over your resume specifically and say, hey Marissa, does this look good? I'm interested in applying to XYZ position. I am more than happy to take a look at it. So I'll definitely provide my email address so that if students would be interested in that, they could have me review it. That's probably the biggest thing because I see resumes all day, every day. So I'm more than happy to take a look and review it for anyone, even their LinkedIn profile as well. There's some great tips and tricks, I think, when it comes to LinkedIn profiles to help you stand out. You know, specifically having a professional photo in your bio, you know, stating just the different facts about you and expressing your interest in the career path that you're interested in, I think is important. Even putting yourself at open to work helps recruiters find students as well. So more than happy to take a look at resumes or LinkedIn profiles or portfolios, whatever students may need.
I have a question. So,
Yeah.
one of the trends I've seen over my last 20 years is kind of the shift from just looking at hard skills while also now considering soft skills and culture fit, right? You brought up mission, vision, and values. So one of the cool things about Sizigi is that it's not just an e-portfolio, it's personalized e-portfolios, meaning you can select on content. Is content for for your company might be different than a financial analyst job for Qualcomm, right? But you can select on the content, but more importantly is you can create a cool introductory video to say, here's why I want to work at your company, because I believe in, you know, your mission, vision, values, X, Y, and Z. So how would you place that if somebody sent you kind of a package that also included why they want to work at your company?
Yeah, no, I love that you brought that up, Tony, because anything personalized and live, you know, I'm going to say live because it's a video in real time, I think is fantastic because that gives like a recruiter insight, not just about, like you said, not just your hard skills and your experience, but it gives insight into your personality, right? Because as a video, you can showcase your personality, and just really showcase, of course, your professionalism in addition to just your overall persona. I think if I received you know, a video and a portfolio that was encompassing and specific to Northwestern, that would 100%, you know, have someone stand out, have a student stand out to the rest of their peers. So I think that's fantastic. That's something that my staffing company did prior to Northwestern. We had, when we were before COVID, you know, had interviews in person, we would have them not only just do assessments, you know, Word, Excel, some of those hard skills, but also conduct a really quick 30-second video. Even if it's 30 seconds, it 100%, you know, can encompass everything about you and help the hiring manager push you along to the next round of the interview process.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
We have another question that came in. Marissa, if you'd like to answer that, go ahead.
Yeah, all right. So the question here is, while you're a student at SDSU, how did you go about hiring season, and did you have any tips for it? So Jason, that is such a great question. When I was a student at SDSU, I always had my resume ready to go, and I always had you know, my LinkedIn profile, which was, when I was in school, probably wasn't as big of a thing as it is now, but I always had it just updated with, you know, different organizations that I was a part of, just had it up to date. So how I went through the hiring season, so I had a couple of internships, and a couple of, or just my one position at KPBS, my part-time job. And I'm just a preparer. So how I went about it was, I always had everything in place. If it was an in-person interview, Jason, I would have a portfolio, like a black normal portfolio. I had resume copies ready to go, because if the email said, "Hi Marissa, you know, you're going to be interviewing with so-and-so," sometimes other people can come into the interview and you just want to make sure that you have enough resume copies prepared. So I always had that. So I would go in to the interview prepared with not just, you know, knowing my experience, my work experience and organization experience front to back, but I would also have questions prepared for the interviewer. You always want to have a question or questions prepared at the end when the interviewer asks, "Do you have any questions for me?" You always want to have at least one or two. And a tip, actually, that was my favorite question that I asked the interviewer in the interview process was, "Okay, you know, I love your company. You've talked a lot about your company and mission, vision, and values. Like, what is a value that is specific to you that you resonate with and apply to your work day in and day out?" That's a great question to ask employers, because if they're preaching, yeah, you know, I love my company mission, that's such a hard word, mission, vision, and values, and they can't answer that question, that means they're not using their values, you know, when they're working. So that is a great insight, I think, into the company culture and just how the company operates. I think that's a great question to ask. I always ask that. Always. And then I also, Jason, always asked at the very end, you know, "Thank you so much, Stephanie, for meeting with me today. I'm curious if there's any hesitations that you have with me moving forward in the interview process." It might be a little bit of like a very direct question, but I always ask that because, you know, if they say no, they're going to think, "Oh, yeah, I don't have any hesitations moving you forward." Like, yeah, you're going to go to their next round. And they stop and think about different things that they might suggest, then you can, best implement that moving forward in the next interview or whatever that case may be. And then I always followed up and went home. I wish I knew about the letter suggestion, but I went home and sent a follow-up email. And Jason, I want to apologize because I did jump the gun and I did not even mention like how I went about finding internships and going through that interview process. I wanted to just recommend before we go to the next question that I always went to career fairs. Every single career fair SDSU hosted, I attended. And I went to go look and talk to booths that I was interested in, companies that had the booths, of course. I researched. SDSU sends out a list of companies that are going to be in attendance, and I always looked and I always thought, okay, I know that XYZ is going to be there. I need to make it a point to attend their booth at the career fair or virtually now that we have virtual career fairs. Make sure that you do your research because those are the students that are going to stand out to the recruiter at the booth. So always did my research at career fairs. I also did a lot of networking, Jason. So what I did was, if it wasn't LinkedIn, I would be able to go to different organizations that I was a part of, my friends and colleagues that I trusted, and ask them, what internships do you recommend? I'm looking at the time at SDSU, I was looking for marketing internships because I thought, okay, I want to be in marketing after graduation. I'm unfortunately not in it. Now that we're post-grad, but I thought that's what I wanted to do. So I thought I need to get, brand ambassador internships under my belt. I need to join organizations that are in marketing so I can talk to those students and colleagues and ask them what they recommended because, either they're other marketing students, they've gone through internships that they recommend or teachers that recommend internships. So that's kind of how I did my research was through LinkedIn, but also networking with my peers and asking them because, when it comes to referrals, if a friend or a colleague says, yeah, Marissa, I get my hair done at this place, I'm not even gonna think twice about it. I'm gonna go get my hair done if I'm looking for a recommendation. So I feel like looking at hiring seasons and it comes to specific industries, that's where I went to my peers and teachers and colleagues for advice. So I hope, again, so long-winded, I apologize. I'm a chatter, so I can talk for days, but I hope that was helpful for you, Jason, and everyone in the virtual room.
I want to thank you again for taking time today to provide advice and tips and whatnot. And I remember you did mention that you had a slide that you want to show. So if you wanted to bring that up now would be a good time to bring that up.
Perfect. Thank you, Stephanie. So I wanted everyone, can you see my screen okay? Or not yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
There we go.
There we go. I just wanted to quickly mention, here at Northwestern Mutual, yes, we are in the financial services industry. And if anyone is interested in an internship, we are actively hiring for next semester as well as over the summer. So our internship opportunity is year-round. So we're still recruiting, even if it seems like summer's too far away. I want you to know that it's not. It's never too early to find an internship or even seek a position, a job after college. So I just wanted to quickly put our QR code up here in case anyone is interested and would love to get in touch and give you some more information about it. But we're not, just because we're a financial services industry, we don't look for just finance students. This internship, our financial representative internship, is open to all. So I just wanted to have this on here in case anyone was interested. But thank you so much, Stephanie, for letting me be here with everyone virtually. It was so fun chatting. And if anyone has any specific questions, that is actually my email address right there, marissa.cubing@nm.com. My offer still stands if anyone wants me to look over their resume, look over their LinkedIn profile, look over their portfolio. I'm more than happy to take a look at it. Just send me an email here, or if you want to just scan the QR code and it's just a quick Google form that asks a couple questions. Regardless, I'll see it. So you can get in contact with me either way.
All right, sounds good. And I think just quickly before we leave, I think there was one question about if it's open to international students.
Yes, of course. So I thank you so much for asking that. Unfortunately, our internship isn't open to international business students, but I'm sharing my screen right now, so I can't see who asked that question, but I wanted to personally have you connect with me on LinkedIn, because even though our internship isn't open to international students, I do know other internships and know other campus recruiters that are currently recruiting. That do have their internship open to international students. So I'd love for you to personally connect with me, so that I can get you into contact with the right people. I'm a huge believer that, you have to share your network, and it goes a long way. So I'd love if you could connect with me, because unfortunately ours isn't, but I might know someone that might. So please connect with me.
All right, sounds good. Thank you everyone for attending today. You're free to go. I hope you all have a good day.
That was fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a